When I had my burnout back in 2021, I watched a lot of YouTube videos from people who had gone through the same. Those videos helped me more than I can explain. They made me feel I wasn't alone and that there was light at the end of the tunnel. It also helped me see how burnout is experienced in different countries and workplaces. So, I decided to share my experience as well. If this video helps one person out there feel seen or understood, or makes them believe they can come out of this situation even stronger, then I've reached my goal. Also, most of my viewers are a decade or two older than me. If you are a boomer watching this, I genuinely want to hear your take, because burnout wasn't really a concept in your generation. Did workplaces get more toxic, or did we become less resilient? What do you think? In 2020, I got a promotion I was genuinely excited about. But soon after, I found myself in a very toxic environment. Not because of my internal colleagues, but because of some external partners whose behavior made it almost impossible to do my job. Around the same time, I had just moved into a new house in a new city where I was working from. And it was the first year of the pandemic, so the isolation and uncertainty only made things heavier. I kept telling myself, I'm resilient, I can handle this, because I always had. But over time, it started to drain my energy. I began to dread every morning. I couldn't disconnect from work anymore. Even on weekends, I was physically with my friends, but mentally somewhere else. People kept asking if I was okay. I'm normally a calm person, but I start to feel anxiety almost every day. This dragged on for months. I did get some help at work, but I was still being pushed into similar stressful situations. It felt like I was spending more time managing other people's frustrations than actually doing my job. And then the physical symptoms started. In addition to anxiety and heavy breathing, the headaches began during work hours. One morning, I opened my laptop, and as Outlook started loading the incoming emails, my headache spiked, and I just froze. That was the moment I realized and said, enough. I closed the lid of my laptop and left the house without my phone and walked into nature for like 2 hours. That walk was the beginning of my recovery. When I got back home, I didn't reopen the laptop. I just called my manager. At the time, she was based in the UK, and to her credit, she was incredibly supportive. For context, I work for an American international company with a Dutch contract, and my role is global. So my burnout had nothing to do with the Netherlands itself. However, the support and recovery that followed were very much shaped by how things work here and by the support system within the organization. She told me to take time off immediately and assured me I didn't need to worry about work. She also said she wouldn't contact me, but that I could reach out to her anytime, giving me space yet offering support. The next day, HR called. She knew me very well. She knew how committed and resilient I usually was. She was empathetic, told me to rest, and said she would contact the company doctor. A few days later, I already had an appointment scheduled. In the meantime, my manager suggested I reach out to our employee assistance program for professional help, which I decided to do after speaking with the company doctor. That week, I spent a lot of time walking in nature and sleeping. My body was clearly asking for rest. I simply didn't have the energy to get through the day otherwise. When I finally met with the company doctor, she immediately noticed how exhausted I looked. She even mentioned that my eyes were closing as we spoke. She recommended that I take proper time off and explained that she would prepare a report for HR and schedule follow-up sessions every couple of weeks to monitor my recovery. A week after meeting the company doctor, I had my first therapy session with a psychologist from Belgium. By the way, the employee assistance program covered 5 sessions. It was good. It gave me perspective. In total, I was off work for about 1 to 2 months. In between, I had a planned holiday in the south of France, which, by the way, you need to take from your regular vacation quota in the Netherlands, even during sick leave. But that trip really helped me. Just by changing environment and being by the Mediterranean coast made a real difference. So something the therapist said really stuck with me. She told me that some people would actually thrive in those chaotic, high-pressure environments. But for me, it was doing the opposite. It was draining my energy. That, she said, was a clear sign that I was probably doing the wrong kind of work. She even included that in her report and advised against returning to the same role. Around that time, I started thinking maybe it was time to move on from the company. But to my surprise, my manager came back with 2 internal roles she thought could be a better fit. One of them was a non-client facing advisory role, calmer, more stable, and still meaningful. I accepted that one. Together with the company doctor, we agreed on a gradual reintegration plan. Week 1 was 2 hours a day. Week 2 and 3, 4 hours a day. Week 4, 6 hours a day. Then, after a final check-in, I returned to full-time work. So in total, I was off for about 2 months and reintegrated over 1 more month. I also kept my last 2 therapy sessions as monthly check-ins, just to make sure I was staying balanced. That slower, structured return helped me a lot. It gave me time to rebuild confidence and energy. I must also mention that during the time of an reintegration, there was no cut to my paycheck. I believe in the Netherlands you can go on sick leave for up to 2 years, and you're entitled to at least 70% of your salary during that period. Having such a system forces companies to ensure a healthy work environment. And most international companies don't even cut anything. So you get 100% of your salary, like it was in my case. Looking back, I'm so glad I pulled the plug before it was too late. I also learned that I wasn't alone. Some of my colleagues in the company had gone through burnout too at some point in their careers, and they had come out stronger. It reminded me how invisible the struggle can be. Even the strongest people you see might have gone through something similar before. My biggest lesson: no company is more valuable than your health or your peace of mind. Just remember that it's just some work. If you start to feel those early warning signs, listen to them. Talk to someone. Take action. This experience taught me to set clearer boundaries, to rest without guilt, and to recognize that self-care is not weakness, it's wisdom. Thank you for watching and listening to my story. If you've gone through something similar, please share it in the comments. You're not alone. And if you enjoy stories about life in the Netherlands, and especially my travel adventures, consider subscribing. Because while burnout was part of my story, it's not the whole story. The journey continues.